They're hosting. They're getting beaten by Rochdale this week. Sunday at 1 p.m. I can't imagine that Cornwall are ready to win a game yet, but
No.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of points. And then the game of the week is two teams looking more towards the top end of the table. Doncaster versus Oldham. They're pretty evenly matched, it seems, this year from their results so far. I think that's Sunday at 3 p.m. I haven't written that down, but that should be an entertaining game.
It should indeed.
Look out for links to the Google form for fan views on all of those games and any other rugby league action, of course, that you're taking over the weekend. We'll be happy to share your fan views on next week's SLP. That is pretty much it for this week's SLP, other than to wrap things up with a quiz and that. Okay, David, what have you got for me?
Okay.
I hope you've got something for me.
Oh, I've definitely got something for you. I always like doing a quiz, you know me. So with the Challenge Cup semi-finals hoving into view just over the horizon, this week I'm doing an Elland Road themed quiz.
Okay.
So I've been to a number of rugby league games at Elland Road. Never been to a football game though, but I've been to a number of rugby league games at Elland Road, and the question tonight are about three of the games that I've been to at Elland Road.
Okay, I imagine some of them might predate my life, let alone my rugby league watching life.
They might do. They might do. When were you born, Mark?
85.
There we go. Okay, so two of them are about when you were a baby, but I'm sure you'll have learned an awful lot about your history of rugby league.
We'll see.
So let's start you off with an easy one then. This is a game in the Tri Nations when England played Australia, and it was Darren Lockyer's last game for Australia, and he scored the last try of the match, and it was his last try in his last game playing rugby league. What year was it?
I think I was at this game, but I think I was absolutely battered. So it would mean that I would have been youngish, but not that young. I am gonna guess 2005.
Oh, it's later. It's 2011.
11?
Yeah.
Oh, then it wasn't the game I was at where I was battered then.
Yeah. We did get battered by them as well, I think, in 2008 or something like that.
Oh, no, the one I was at, the Tri Nations final I was at was Australia-New Zealand. England weren't in it.
And that wasn't at Elland Road. That was
Right, there was one at Elland Road where I was absolutely hammered, and I can remember going to the pub beforehand, but I can't remember anything of the game.
That was an Australia-England game as well.
Right.
Because there's been three Tri-Nation finals, two at Elland Road. Both we got tonked by Australia. The Anfield was the venue for the Australia-New Zealand game.
Fair enough.
So I only know that because I looked it up today. So there you go. So the answer was 2011.
God, I thought he'd finished playing before that.
Yeah, 2011. Now, the other two questions are from the year of your birth.
Wow.
1985. And I was at both of these games. The first question is about an international. In that year, 1985, Great Britain, as it was then, played New Zealand in a test series. And the final game of the series was played at Elland Road. And it finished 6 points each. New Zealand retained the honours because I think they'd won the previous series. Who scored all of Great Britain's points that day? It was 3 goal kicks.
Joe Lydon.
It was Lee Crooks,
Oh.
the prop forward, and he kicked the tying points from off the touchline. It was an absolute bell ringer. It was a beautiful goal. You have to go onto YouTube and look it up. It's a corker. There was also some absolutely fearsome scraps during the course of the. I think the Tomato brothers were playing for New Zealand, and I'm pretty sure both of them ended up in a sin bin at one stage. It was a brutal game of rugby league. Same year, but earlier in the year, Saints played Hull Kingston Rovers in the Premiership final at Ellen Road. As far as I know, that was the only Premiership final at Ellen Road. I might be wrong, but I think it was the only one. And I was at that game as well. Actually, it was that same day was the day of the Bradford fire disaster, sadly. Saints won that game. Mal Meninga was absolutely magnificent. Could you tell me who was captaining Saints that day and lifted the Premiership trophy?
In 1985?
Saints captain.
I haven't got a clue.
He was Saints loose forward.
I don't know that helps me.
Oh dear.
So far, I know that Mal Meninga played for St Helens in that match, but I'm guessing he was playing in the centres. So
he was playing centre, and he had an absolutely it was when shoulder charges were still allowed, Mark, and he put 2 absolute bell ringers in, nearly killing the opposition centre. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, it was probably a bit early for you, Mark. So Harry Pinner was the captain of Saints that day.
Yeah, sorry, wouldn't have. We could have been here all year.
Yeah, you wouldn't have got that.
I'm afraid not.
I'd suggest you go and have a look at that game on YouTube as well. It's also a very good game.
You told me that Saints battered them, so I've got no interest in watching it.
No, well, I didn't say we battered them. I said we won.
Oh, right.
It was a really good game, actually. It was a really good game. Harry Pinner was captain, lifted the Premiership that year. I think Hull KR were league leaders though, so they had a very, very good team back then. Hull KR. Tom Andrews, I've no doubt, will have watched this game on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I was going to say because he wasn't there.
No. Only seems like yesterday to me, Mark.
So, and finally, news. We were going to do this last week, but we'd already gone to about 3 hours at this stage, so we're not quite there yet. We're not a million miles off, but we're not quite there yet. But, to be honest, we could keep this in forever and a day, and it still might not actually happen. We'll see. Castleford Tigers are to submit plans to redevelop their existing ground on Weldon Road, with the planned Junction 32 development repurposed for commercial opportunities. In turn, Highgrove Group, who own the plot just off the M62, will provide funding for the revamp. The club hope to receive a £2 million grant from Wakefield Council as part of their Rugby League Resilience Fund. Among the developments will be a new main stand at Castleford, with this new build office space. Within this new build, office space, a gymnasium, medical and physiotherapy facilities, and 4 changing rooms will be incorporated, as well as supporters' kiosks for refreshments. Improvements will be made to the other 3 stands: the Railway End, the Princess Street stand, and the Weldon Road end.
It hasn't mentioned the bogs.
You'd assume that they would be within. I mean, the mock-ups of the designs are very, very nice. They certainly wouldn't be affordable on £2 million, so it'll be interesting to see how much the Highgrove Group will be willing to put into it. But I do think it is the better approach for Castleford to redevelop where they are, rather than because if they do run out of money at certain points, they can still do bits of it, and it's more realistic and sustainable, I think, than the move to the motorway.
Yeah. well, let's see what happens. There's been so much talk in Castleford. There's been so much talk in Wakefield about developing the grounds, and so far sod all's happened. So
they've got the space though. I mean, at Wakefield, I'm not convinced they have the space, but they definitely have the space at Castleford. There's more space behind the railway end than I realised when I was watching
with
the other night.
Old training pitch. Yeah.
There's quite a gap between the Weldon Road end and the road, to be honest, that they could build on, and it's only really the Princess Street stand that maybe doesn't have any more room to go into, but I don't think they need to put seats in that stand like they've done in the mock-up, so that's a cost saving. All they need to do is basically shore it up. I don't know if I'd leave that to the last to do, to be honest, if I was them, but they've got room, so they can make the stadium actually have a 100-metre pitch, or 100-yard pitch. That'd be good. But if they can retain the sort of picket fence sort of around the ground, that'll keep some character. And then,
I mean, I'm sure it's all very possible, but when it comes to developing rugby grounds, talk's cheap. Let's see when the spades go in the ground and stuff starts getting built, and you know it's happening.
Yeah.
Until then, it's just talk. I'm afraid.
Yeah, but let's hope that this is a positive step for the club. Any other business? Any recommendations, David?
I don't have any recommendations this week, I'm afraid, Mark.
Is that because all you've been doing is watching sport, that you've not had a chance to do anything else?
And football, and I've been walking in preparation for my last leg of Land's End to John O'Groats. So I'm walking from Inverness to John O'Groats. I may come back from that with some recommendations. But yeah, that's all I've been doing, walking and watching sport. That's it.
Fair enough. We went to Knob End Nature Reserve, sort of on the edge of Bolton the other day, because we wanted to, not because of the funny name, but because we wanted to check out the disused Manchester Bury and Bolton Canal, because we've turned into canal nerds all of a sudden. I'm not sure how it's quite happened, but it's where we're at. But that was interesting. And nice enough walks along the canal. Some of the canal has got like the towpaths all cobbled because they've never really developed it, because it shut down nearly 100 years ago. I think 85 years ago or something when it shut down. So and there's a load of the canal where it's just drained out completely, and there's like a wood growing in the middle of what was the canal. So it's a different experience for going to a canal anyway, let's put it that way. So yeah, that's what we did. I'm not necessarily recommending it, I'm just saying that's what we did, because nothing else to say in this section other than that.
Very good.
We've got Alan next week, so we'll catch up a bit more about the goings on at Bradford Bulls, I think. So if anyone's got any views on that, then do share them. If anyone's got anything they want to pull us up on or add to, maybe even agree with what we've said this week, then that'll be cool. Get in touch in all the usual ways. Do you want to remind people how they can get in touch and find the show, etc., Dave?
I will. You can find and share the show on at Super League Pod on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/Super League Pod, superleaguepod@gmail.com, superleaguepod.com. You can search for the show on Spreaker and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, on Podcast Addict, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on Overcast, or anywhere you normally find your podcasts. And we're on YouTube too.
Yep. Shout out to our friends Rob Megastore. Enter SLP10 on checkout and get 10% off your order. Little Warden, vital alerts for hidden issues, head to littlewarden.com, see what they can do for you. And Sarah's Bookcase, Sarah sells Usborne books with access to over 3,000 titles from baby to young adults. There's something for everyone. Find out more on Facebook. Links to all of those will be on the episode blog post at superleaguepod.com. That's it for episode 338, David. I hope we've not got as much big news stories to talk about in any show. The fact that we breezed over a couple of big coaching changes to some of the more